Logitech makes reliable, affordable PC gear. Klipsch makes serious audio equipment with a legacy that goes back to 1946. So the outcome seems obvious until you look at what the Logitech Z533 actually does at its price point and realize this is a genuinely contested fight, not a foregone conclusion. Both are 2.1 speaker systems sitting at roughly the same price. Both have a subwoofer, a control pod, and wide device compatibility. But only one of them was certified by THX, the same audio standard used in professional cinema, and that certification is either the reason you should buy it or a detail that means nothing for how you actually use speakers. The Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 THX carries something most computer speakers do not. THX certification, which requires the system to meet professional cinema audio reproduction standards before it can carry the badge. That is not a marketing claim, it is a tested, verified performance threshold. The certification involves Klipsch's proprietary MicroTractrix Horn technology on the satellite speakers, which controls how sound disperses from the driver and directs it toward the listener rather than scattering it around the room. The practical result is mid-range clarity and high-frequency definition that sounds more like studio monitoring than desktop audio. Customers consistently call out the crystal-clear highs and mid-range as the defining quality of this system, not just loud but accurate. The Logitech Z533 uses 2.25-inch full-range drivers with a design focused on sound directivity, filling the room rather than projecting toward a listening position. At 60 watts RMS, the system produces balanced, full-sounding audio that customers describe as genuinely good for its category. It is not a neutral reference system. It is a warm, room-filling sound that works well for mixed use, gaming, music, movies, and casual listening. For buyers who want audio that sounds immediately satisfying without calibration or placement precision, the Z533 delivers that reliably. Edge, Klipsch ProMedia 2.1, on clarity, accuracy, and high-frequency definition. The Logitech Z533 outputs 120 watts peak power, with 60 watts of RMS, the honest number, the one that reflects sustained real-world output rather than momentary burst capability. The Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 outputs 200 watts peak with a 110 dB in-room output rating. To put 110 dB in human terms, live rock music averages between 108 and 114 dB. This system does not just fill a room, it pressurizes it. For gaming where spatial audio cues matter at volume, for movies where action sequences should physically register, or for music that is meant to be felt as much as heard, the Klipsch's headroom gives it a scale that the Z533 simply cannot reach. The Z533 is loud enough for most desk setups. The Klipsch is loud enough for most rooms. Edge, Klipsch ProMedia 2.1, by a significant margin on peak output and dynamic range. The Logitech Z533 uses a front-facing subwoofer, a design choice that places the bass driver pointed toward the listener rather than toward a wall or downward. Front-firing subwoofers interact differently with room acoustics than side-firing designs, and at desk distance, many listeners find the low end feels more present and direct. The Z533's bass is adjustable through the control pod, which lets users dial it in rather than accept a fixed tuning. Customers who enjoy the system consistently mention the adjustable bass as a positive, being able to feel it without overpowering everything else. The Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 uses a 6.5-inch side-firing ported subwoofer. The side-firing configuration pushes bass energy into the room's acoustic environment rather than directly at the listener, which produces a more diffuse, room-filling low end that does not obviously localize to the cabinet. The ported design extends bass response below what a sealed enclosure can produce at the same driver size. The result is bass that is felt throughout the room, not just at the desk. Some customers report rattling at high volumes, a characteristic of ported designs pushed near their limits, which is worth noting for buyers who consistently listen loud. Edge, Klipsch ProMedia 2.1, on bass extension and room scale impact. The Logitech Z533 accepts 3.5mm and RCA inputs, a combination that covers virtually every source device made in the last 20 years. Computer, TV, game console, phone, tablet, turntable with a preamp. If it has an audio output, the Z533 takes it. The control pod adds an additional 3.5mm input and a headphone jack, which is a practical daily use feature for anyone who alternates between speakers and headphones without reaching behind a computer. The Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 uses a single 3.5mm input. It is plug-and-play simple, and that simplicity is a design choice rather than a limitation. The system is built around the assumption that most users have one primary source they want connected and want that connection invisible. For users with multiple source devices who want flexibility built into the hardware, the Z533 has the edge here. Edge, Logitech Z533, on input flexibility and headphone output convenience. Both systems have durability concerns documented in customer feedback, and this comparison addresses that directly. The Logitech Z533 has multiple customer reports of the subwoofer failing within months of purchase, a recurring pattern prominent enough to affect the long-term value proposition. Buyers outside their return window who experience this are left with satellite speakers that have lost their foundation. The Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 also has reported issues. Some customers mention subwoofer problems and buzzing sounds at high volumes where the ported design reaches its limits. However, the frequency of critical durability failures is less prominent in Klipsch's feedback profile, and Klipsch's decades of audio manufacturing history provides more confidence in physical build quality. For both systems, register your purchase, keep receipts, and use the return window if anything fails early. Edge, Klipsch ProMedia 2.1, on relative build confidence and brand durability track record. The Z533's control pod gives users hands-on volume, bass, headphone, and input access without touching the speakers or the source device. For a busy desk setup, that pod convenience is a meaningful daily quality of life feature. The satellite speakers are compact and the subwoofer sits on the floor without demanding significant space. The Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 satellite speakers are 8.5 inches tall, a size that projects with authority but requires more shelf or desk real estate than smaller satellites. The subwoofer at roughly 9.5 by 9.8 by 10.2 inches is a substantial floor presence. For larger desks or dedicated listening areas, that footprint is appropriate. For tighter setups, measure before buying. Edge, Logitech Z533, on desk space efficiency and control pod convenience. The front-facing subwoofer with dial-controlled bass is a genuinely practical advantage for close-range desk listening. At arm's length, a side-firing subwoofer can overwhelm the mid-range at moderate volumes. The Z533's front-firing design and adjustable bass control lets users tune the low end for their exact listening distance, something the Klipsch's fixed tuning does not accommodate. For a buyer who sits close and listens at measured volumes, that adjustability is more valuable than room-filling output they will never use. Single 3.5mm input, no USB audio, no optical, no Bluetooth. In 2026, that is a narrow connectivity profile for a system at this price. Buyers who want to connect a TV optically, use USB audio from a PC, or switch between a desktop and a console without an adapter will need an external audio switcher. That friction is real, and buyers who want a flexible multi-source setup will find the Z533 more accommodating from day one. The Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 THX wins this comparison, and the case is built on performance credentials the Logitech Z533 simply does not carry. THX certification, MicroTractrix Horn clarity, 200 watts peak reaching 110 dB in room, and a 6.5-inch ported subwoofer producing bass at a room scale. The Klipsch is the better sounding system by the standard that matters most, what it sounds like when you sit down and press play. At approximately $160, it sits in the same price neighborhood as the Z533 and delivers a meaningfully superior listening experience for gaming, movies, and music at volume. The Logitech Z533 at $150 to $174 is the right system for a specific buyer. Someone who needs dual inputs and a built-in headphone jack, prefers the close-range adjustability of a front-firing subwoofer, is working in a tight desk space, or is genuinely concerned about the documented subwoofer reliability issues and wants the simpler system with broad return coverage. The Z533 is not a bad speaker system. It is the wrong choice for buyers who prioritize sound quality above everything else. The Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 THX is the winner. Both systems are linked in the description below. Check current pricing before you decide. One honest note. The subwoofer durability concerns on the Z533 are real and documented. If you go that route, buy from a seller with a solid return window and register the product immediately. The Klipsch has its own reported issues at high volumes. Neither system is without its caveats. Buy smart and keep your receipt regardless of which one you choose. If you want to know exactly what you are getting before you spend money on it, hit subscribe. This channel is built to protect your next purchase before you commit to it. The Klipsch wins. Thanks for watching.